Every man and a dog is talking about this giant red lobster called Clawdbot. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Clawdbot as a complete beginner. People are controlling their homes, web scraping sites, even saving thousands on cars with this. Now, you probably feel overwhelmed trying to set it up, but honestly, it takes one command, costs $0, and I'll walk you through the easiest setup you can get on this today. So buckle up and let's get started. Now, since Clawdbot was released, it's been renamed to Molebot, and I believe now it's called OpenClaw. And in layman's terms, it's just an agentic builder that connects all of your applications which you access through apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, or any other chat app. And that's their fundamental difference. And I'm going to break down why Telegram is the easiest, quickest onboarding that you can do if you want to access OpenClaw. And basically, OpenClaw/Clawdbot is the brain behind your personal assistant. Now, you're still going to be using a language model like ChatGPT from OpenAI, or the one that I'm going to show you, which is Claude by Anthropic. And for this setup, I'm using a Mac, so I'm going to install it locally on my machine. Now, there are some inherent risks involved with that, and I'll walk you through them. But if you set it up the way that I'm going to show you and you apply some common sense, you're going to be just fine. What's great about OpenClaw/Clawdbot is that the entire installation happens with a single copy and paste command. But you need to know what you're actually running on your computer. So head over to OpenClaw.ai, and the command is just this one here. It's a simple one-liner that you run inside of Terminal. So copy and paste the command and head over to Terminal. Paste it and hit enter. And then this is going to start installing all the libraries, dependencies, everything that OpenClaw/Clawdbot needs to run on your local Mac. Now, my installation actually failed because the version of Node.js that I've installed on my Mac is apparently too new. So I need to downgrade it from version 24 down to something like version 20. So that's what I've done here. This is what I basically backtracked and installed an older version. So if that's worked, I can now run the OpenClaw command. Let's try again. And this time it's successful. This is what you should be seeing. You should be seeing all the files getting downloaded, dependencies, libraries, everything that OpenClaw/Clawdbot needs. So if you're going to see this, then you know you've done it right. But just remember that if you are using the latest version of Node.js, then you are going to need to downgrade to an older version. And if you've done it correctly, you should see a screen like this with the OpenClaw logo and the OpenClaw onboarding. Now, there are security warnings, and there's more information on OpenClaw.ai's website. So if you're not sure, go and read that documentation, plug it into ChatGPT if you don't understand it, and ask ChatGPT to explain it to you. I understand the risks. I am a risk taker. I really don't care. So I'm going to click on yes. Now, for the onboarding, you've got two options. For most of you, quick start is going to be the least painful. So I recommend that one. And then we're going to need to add a language model, because remember, OpenClaw itself is not a language model. It's an agentic builder. So we need to connect it up to something like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic Claude, or Google's Gemini. And the one that I'm going to use is Anthropic because I already have billing set up in Claude. I use it for a lot of different automations and projects. So I'm going to select Anthropic, which is the second option here. And then what we're going to need is the API key. I'm going to select the second option, and then we need to enter the API key. Now, to add your Claude API keys, head over to platform.claude.com. You're going to be taken to a screen like this. So click on the left-hand side where it says API keys. Now, as a quick FYI, you are going to need some billing here, so you can get started with as low as $5. So make sure your account is topped up with some credits, and then you want to click on create key. So I'm going to call this one OpenClaw because that's where I'm using it. Copy the key because you're not going to be able to see it again once it's created, which is absolutely fine because you can always create a new key and delete the old one. And then head back into Terminal and then just paste the API key where it says enter Anthropic API key. Now, this process is the same for every single language model, right? You just got to go to the platform website where the API keys are generated, and you do the same for OpenAI, ChatGPT, Claude, and Google Gemini. It's exactly the same. When you hit enter, it's going to ask for a default model. Now, obviously, models are going to be expensive depending on how newer they are, how older they are. Just bear in mind that you don't really need that much reasoning for something like a personal assistant. I would say that context is more important. It's a more important feature for something like a personal assistant app. So the one I recommend for this particular task is Opus 4.5. Works really well and it's still affordable. And then the next step is going to be channels. How do channels work? So channels is your access point to your personal assistant. And like I said at the start of the video, you're going to be using messaging apps. So this works with Telegram, WhatsApp, Discord, Slack, Signal, all the greatest chatting apps that we're used to. The one I use is Telegram because it's just the easiest one to set up. So select Telegram, and the first thing we're going to need is a bot token. So head over to web.telegram.org. This is where you set up the actual bots that you're going to integrate with the OpenClaw/Clawdbot assistant. The first thing you want to do is you want to find the bot father. Now make sure it's the verified bot father and it's got something like 4 million monthly users. There's a lot of fakes on Telegram, so make sure you're connecting to the right one. And then you want to click on start. So the bot father is Telegram's way of using like the bot father or like a wizard wizard to help you set up bots. So there's a bunch of commands here that you can go through. The one that we're going to use is new bot. And so that's the command here. And then the next step is to give your bot a name. Now the syntax is, it could be whatever your bot wants to be called, but the suffix on the end has to be underscore bot. And you'll see that in the next step. So I'm going to call mine Ava OpenClaw underscore bot. And let's see if that works. So it hasn't picked up the actual suffix underscore bot because it thinks that this is the name of the prefix of the bot I'm trying to call. So let's just try Ava OpenClaw bot. That should work. Okay, so that's already been taken. So let's try Ava underscore OpenClaw 2026 underscore bot. Usually when you put a number in it, it's usually going to work. So then it's worked. Here's congratulations. And the first thing we're going to need is this access token. So copy this and then head back into terminal. And we're going to paste it here. So once that's registered as a channel, it's going to ask you for skills. And I'll discuss skills on a future video. It's quite a big topic on its own. There's a lot of best practices and common sense that needs to apply to it. So I will cover that in a future video. For now, I'm just going to select no. And for hooks as well, I'll discuss that in a future video. So I'm going to skip that for now. Or in fact, it's going to ask me to select one. So let's just select the bootmd and it's space to select. And then we're going to hit enter. So it's now installing the gateway service. And you can't really screw this up if it's on your local machine. It's actually easier to install it on a local machine versus a cloud server like AWS. Now, before I proceed to the next step, this is really important, how you control the UI. So obviously the front end, when you talk to your personal assistant, your bot, that's going to be done through Telegram. And I'll show you an example of that. But in terms of the back end, how you connect the channels, how you can schedule cron jobs, all that kind of stuff, you're going to access it through this web address. So make a note of this. We're going to copy this one. And then the last few steps to finalize the installation, it's going to ask you if you want to hatch your bot. So I'm just going to do whatever it recommends because I don't want to spend too much time on this. And if it's successful, it will actually default to a tab inside of your browser and then it will open up the gateway dashboard. And this is where it gets interesting because you can start talking to your assistant, you can give it a name, and you know that obviously you can ask it to address yourself. So I'm going to call mine Ava because that's what I've called it. So you are Ava and I'm Sanj. And so now it has memory, it has context, and it can go back and look at the memory context, look at previous conversations. So there's a few things you can do here. You can chat it, you can give it personality, like a style. I've said to Ava that you're funny and witty, update your memory. Once it does that, it will then update the MD file. So this is basically kind of building a personality, building memory inside of your personal assistant, because as you're using this, as it gets smarter and it acquires more knowledge, because it's got a more, like a wider contextual window, it's having, conversations with you, it's going to start learning. It's going to start learning about itself. It's going to start learning about the responsibilities that you're going to give it, but more importantly, what your expectations are going to be from this personal assistant moving forward. It's also an opportunity to give it a new skill. So as there's new features and everything wonderful that's coming out in AI and, integrations that we can build into OpenClaw/Clawdbot, then we're going to be able to update memory and update skills. And this is done through like a .md file, which is just a markdown file. And this is what these agentic builders use to basically update their knowledge bases. And so once it's done, it's kind of witty, right? It's officially documented its own birth, which feels appropriately narcissistic for someone whose entire personality was just defined as funny. Yeah, I kind of like that. This Ava's got a little bit of sass. So we still haven't picked my emoji, though I'm thinking whatever that is, some kind of swirl, chaotic, spiraling, vaguely unsettling, or a lightning emoji. Quick, electric, a little dramatic, or you could just surprise me. And let's just come back with that. So let's go ahead and let's use the lightning. So I'm going to select that on my Mac here. Let's hit send. And the speed of this depends on obviously your local machine, what language model you're using, etc., etc. So locked in. She knows I'm Sanj. She knows she's Ava. She's got a little bit of a vibe. She knows that she has to delete bootstrap.md. And we could connect WhatsApp and Telegram so you can reach me outside of the web chat. So that's a good idea. So let's set that up next. So once you're happy with the setup inside of the OpenClaw/Clawdbot dashboard, head back over to Telegram. And now that you've got the Telegram bot created, you can actually click on it, which is this one here. So this is it here. We're gonna click on start. And there's a couple of things that we're gonna need. The first one is the pairing code. In fact, no, we need the Telegram user ID. We don't need the pairing code because we have the access token. So copy this and we're gonna whitelist it. Head back into the dashboard inside of OpenClaw and you wanna go to channels. And then where it says allow from, just scroll down here. You wanna click on add and then paste in the ID here. Once you're happy with that, this is the ID from inside of Telegram. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's a bit of a long scroll and then you wanna hit save. If it's worked, it's gonna update the actual access inside of the gateway. And if it's worked, you're gonna see something like this. So yeah, it worked. Look, I just went from just woke up to Telegram in under 5 minutes. We're moving fast, people. It's gonna delete the bootstrap file. I'm not sure why it needs to delete that, but yeah, let's just, let Ava do this. It's obviously what she's been programmed to do after the bot has been created. And so this is the front end. This is how you connect and talk to your OpenClaw/Clawdbot. And the back end is where you do all the technical stuff. Now, there's a couple of bits and pieces pieces I want to go through before I wrap up this video. It's really quite important because, like I said, there are risks involved with something like this, even when it's installed on your local machine. So first is the cron jobs. So cron jobs is things that you can schedule, right? So if you wanted a specific newsletter to be sent to you every day, or if you wanted to run a scraper on Reddit for any particular subreddit, then you can schedule that. You can schedule that to run every single day. The next thing you can do is you can give your agent skills. So these are skills that are kind of built inside of the OpenClaw/Clawdbot environment. You can also pull in skills from other repositories like GitHub. And because this is a community-led initiative, there's going to be a lot of skills, a lot of developers and people who want AI agents. They're going to be developing a lot of these skills. So you can actually import these and bring these inside of your own dashboard. And the last thing that I want to mention is that you can actually give your agent as much autonomy or least amount of autonomy as you want. And you do that inside of nodes. So you can give it specific permissions so you can go ahead and do stuff. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to give it access to sensitive platforms, integrations, or if you don't want it to carry out specific tasks inside of sensitive platforms or integrations, then you can lock it down here inside of nodes. Again, I'll cover this more in depth in a future video because the actual dashboard, I feel, does require its own video. Now, skills is the most important part because this will help to improve and make your agents better. It's actually quite simple. You can enable, disable it. So if you wanted Apple Notes, you can just enable that. And that just means that your agent has access to your Apple Notes. And Apple Notes is something I use a lot for my note taking. I've got a lot of information on there. So I probably would want that. But there's a bunch of other skills inside of here. And like I said, you can actually import skills from other platforms like GitHub as well. So now you have OpenClaw/Clawdbot running locally and responding through Telegram. I've seen a lot of obscure tutorials out there making it harder than it needs to be. And honestly, it's not that hard. And if you want to see how you can deploy this on a server so it runs 24/7 without you needing your computer to be turned on, click on the video that you see on screen. That shows you how you can set it up on AWS. So go through that. And if you got value from this, smash the like button, go ahead and install this. Go ahead and install it locally. I'll probably start locally before you move on to like a virtual private server, just because of the complexities and the extra steps involved when you're going to install it on a cloud server. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because I'm somebody who's releasing content so you can use AI to make more money. And before you go away and get about your day, say it with me, something magical is going to happen today. Get this installed and I'll see you next time.